Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of Ausdauer Financial, where we cover financial news, bookkeeping, tax, payroll, and take questions from the audience via the comment section below. Well, we've had quite a last few months here with the lockdowns and everything. States have been slowly rolling out, releasing the lockdowns, some more aggressively than others. I'm in Pennsylvania, which means that while the western and northern part of the state has been released for a few weeks now, my county finally got released. So that brought to mind the fact that a lot of areas across the country have lifted the lockdowns and allowing a lot of companies to resume working, which reminds me that there were over 20 million people that went unemployed or furloughed from the various small businesses that fuel our economy over the course of the last couple of months. And as people are able to start resuming going back to work, or whether they're stuck trying to find a new job because they've been on unemployment and their companies are not in a position where they can bring them back just yet, either way, we have to start considering our transition back into the workforce and try to get caught up on our bills. A lot of people are either maybe behind on bills, or they went on pay plans, or they went on COVID relief, or they did any number of other things to help their families survive over the course of the last couple of months. Therefore, it's time to get back to normal in a matter of sense. I realize with all the stuff in the news, normal seems a foreign concept at this point, especially considering the fact that everyone's been preaching the new normal under COVID. And sure, we still need to take protection of ourselves under the current medical environment we're under. But from a financial standpoint, it's time to transition back to where we were before the pandemic hit. So, in that regards, the first place you always start is with your budget. Because fundamentally, you only have so many dollars coming in, and you have a massive amount of responsibilities and financial headaches to have to deal with. How do we navigate that? Well, I recommend fundamentally life-sustaining expenses, utilities, food, everyday needs, things of that nature, because everything else doesn't matter until those things are covered. If you don't have electricity, if you don't have water, if you don't have gas, if that's your house, things of that nature. You gotta keep the lights on, gotta keep the family fed, things of those nature. Now, does that mean you go all hog wild and throw a lot of money into those things? No, you use them responsibly and reasonably according to your needs. Think about what your levels of spending on those areas prior to the pandemic. You want to try and get back to a normal in that regard. So keep that in mind. Now, in returns of utilities, they all recognize that a lot of bills have been accruing as they've been required to stay online to continue providing these vital services, and they realize that people didn't really have money to pay for them. It's not like you can just cancel your Netflix subscription and get by with that on just YouTube for a couple of months. You need to have electricity or gas or what have you. You need to keep your utilities running, which means you're consuming resources, you're accruing expenses that you don't have money to pay. Good news is in a lot of these situations, and I don't know of any utilities that don't do this, they do have payment plans available, and they are willing to work with you. Fundamentally, they're more interested in getting their money back, period, versus fighting you over resources. So yes, if you rocked up $1,000 bill, they recognize you just came out of the pandemic, you're just getting back to work, or you're still waiting to go back to work, and you just can't afford that. And many of them are very, very flexible, willing to work with you. Say, pay what you can, make a payment plan, give us something of good faith to show that you are making an earnest effort to try and make good on this, and we'll work with you on that. And that in of itself will go a long way to helping you reserve some of that cash flow to help everything else even. In that regards, emergency funds. A lot of people I would hope have emergency fund, and if you didn't coming into this, it's a great time to think about that, because many people may have been burning through some of that just to get through the pandemic, and that's perfectly understandable. Once your utilities are covered, it's time to bring back up your emergency fund to help float you, especially as you get hammered by expenses beyond the utilities that you have to cover. things break, things go wrong, expenses come up, debts accrue, you get nice letters from vendors, any number of reasons why you would need a few extra bucks to help stay you over. And before you go diving into some mafia-rated credit card or loan to try and cover you, let's try and utilize the resources you may or may not have available to you. If you have these available to you, use the emergency fund sparingly, only on an as-needed basis. Try and focus on building it up if you can. If you can't, make that a focus for when funds become available, because there's no telling how valuable emergency fund is. Even if you don't use it, having emergency fund there in the back of your mind can psychologically help you figure out an objective way through a situation, knowing that if all else fails, you've got this available. For the last 20 years, I have always put my focus on the fact that I have credit available. Now let's figure out a way to not have to use it. That way, I'm not a dead duck in the water. I have something available if I absolutely have to use it. Now let's try not to use it. Let's focus on that. That way you've got that safety net. It provides that calm, provides you that mental resource to help focus your energies and come up with solutions. And I know that's helped me considerably over the years. Maybe it'll help you. The next thing on the list is, once you've gotten through your utilities, you've done what you can with the emergency fund, I'm sure many of us have racked up lots and lots of debts, especially credit cards, loans, what have you, mortgages, perhaps car loans, you never know. Based upon that though, debts will always be there. Yes, not paying them can certainly hurt your credit. I get that. But credit card companies only require a very minimum amount of money in order to stay positive on your credit. And you may have already been on that minimum only plan. You may not be trying to be aggressive towards credit card debt. The reality of the matter is that while getting rid of debt is absolutely financially freeing and is important to do, it's fundamentally on the scale of your budget, kind of near the bottom of your list there, because they're not going away. It's like your student loans. Unless you get forgiven or paid off, they're just always going to be there. And yes, the bills will rack up, the balances will rack up, the interest and other things they can do to you will rack up. I get that. I've been there. But you can't worry about all these numbers over here if you have to take care of your family over there, okay? So, in that regards, while debt will be there, take care of the fundamentals first, and then circle back and figure out a strategy for your debts. If you want help with that, I can certainly give you a lot of strategies for managing debts. But in the meantime, as much as those will continue coming in, they're not going away, and this should not be your top priority. It's time for all of us in the U.S., continental U.S., as the case may be, to get back on track. Try and get back to a normal lifestyle. Try and get back to normal spending habits. Try to get back to being on budget and getting rid of debt and taking care of our families. It has been a very trying time the last couple of months. There have been a lot of new norms and unusual circumstances we've had to navigate, and I totally understand that. I've been in that boat myself. And while there are upwards of 20 million people unemployed, out of over 300 million in the country, that means that a majority of us have been working to some degree. And that gives us a blessing, helps bring in some cash flow, helps us buy time. And now we're getting to the point where, okay, the lockdowns are ending, the virus cases are dropping, that I would think that they would continue to drop over the course of summer because it's a flu virus, and the flus generally are winter-based things. I am no medical expert. Don't take my opinion on that in any way, shape, or form. I do not claim to know what I'm talking about when it comes to medical science in any way, shape, or form. I am a financial guru. This is what I do, and therefore, as things progress, consult your physicians, consult your doctors, consult whatever experts you need to regarding how to take care of yourself on a health basis. On a financial basis, it's time to start thinking about, okay, this is all I had to deal with over the last couple of months. What am I going to do going forward to get myself back to where I was pre-pandemic? How do I get myself back on track, start resuming my goals, get over the hump, and get back to where level playing field? Because you may have incurred a lot of financial stress over the last couple of months. Now it's time to navigate through that, get past that, and get back to where we were pre-pandemic. So I would love to hear what you think about what I think. Please leave your comment section below. And if you just happen to come across this video while you're surfing through YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.